Hi guys, I'm Laura Vitale. On this episode of Laura in the Kitchen, I want to share with you my recipe for a pumpkin cranberry swirl bread. It's kind of like a festive twist or take on a classic cinnamon raisin bread. I love this recipe. It is so delicious and it makes for the best French toast ever in the history of French toast. That might be stretching it a little, but it is absolutely delicious. Or if you toast some and you put a little bit of like soft butter on top of it, it is just insanely delicious. Let me run you through the ingredients you'll need to make the actual base, the bread portion of it. All you'll need is some bread flour, sugar, there's some non-fat dry milk powder, salt, melted vegetable shortening, an egg, active dry yeast, and a small pinch of sugar, and some warm water. The first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to start activating my yeast. I'm going to add my yeast and my sugar to my warm water. This is going to need to proof, and it'll take about just a few minutes. It won't take too long until it's nice and poofy. Get it all off of your spatula. You want your yeast to be in the water. So once it's all there, I will show you what it looks like. And then, come on. Be okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add all of my dry ingredients to the bowl of my standing mixer. You don't need to use a mixer to do this. You can knead it by hand. It's going to take a lot longer to get it to the right consistency and texture, but who cares? I'm just going to use my mixer because I have it and it makes the job a lot easier. And I love making any kind of dough in like a bread dough in my mixer just because it always comes out perfect every single time. So I'm just going to add everything in, wait for my yeast to activate. And in the meantime, what I'll do is I'm going to just oil my the same bowl, this bowl with a little vegetable oil, so that it's completely ready for whenever the dough is ready, because I'm going to let it rise in here. This is looking great. I'm just going to add it all to my dry ingredients. Wonderful. Along with the egg, melted vegetable shortening. This is such a good recipe, and actually the funny thing is I came up with it, but it was inspired by one of the sweetest subscribers ever. She follows me on Twitter. Her and I chat all the time. I believe her name is Renee, and I was asking you guys for some like ideas and stuff for pumpkin recipes, like fall baking, and she came up with like an idea for like a pumpkin bread. I was like, girl, you're a genius. I'm gonna make it happen, and here it is. So follow me on Twitter if you don't. I'm gonna let this knead for about 3 to 4 minutes or until it comes together. Perfect. I love this dough. I'll get it. Hold on. What's wrong with me? It's not me, it's the baby, okay? Just taking my strength. This looks great. It's lovely and tacky. Beautiful, smooth. All right, now put that into your oiled bowl. Turn it around. Don't panic if, once your mixture starts going, your dough will look dry and like it's not going to come together. You need to let it knead for several minutes until it gets nice and smooth so that the water, the liquid can fully absorb all of the flour and stuff. So don't panic if it looks like that at first, because it always works out at the end. Cover with plastic wrap, stick it somewhere warm to double in size. It should take a couple hours, could take a little less, could take a little more, depending on how warm the environment is. I'm going to do that and then I'll show you the next step. Dough has risen so beautifully. Let me share with you what I have over here. What I have here is some pumpkin butter. I also have some dried cranberries and some granulated sugar. Now for the pumpkin butter, that's my homemade pumpkin butter. I have a recipe completely dedicated to it. So you can go ahead and check out that recipe and make a batch of pumpkin butter. Keep it on hand for a couple of weeks. It's delicious. It's good on everything. And then use it in this recipe. You can also buy it at the grocery store. If you want to go ahead and just buy it pre-made, you can certainly do that. Nothing beats my homemade version because I do think it's the best. But I understand convenience, especially around this time of year. So do whatever makes you feel good. My dough has risen so beautifully. I'm just gonna punch it down. Get that right over here. I also have a 9 by 5 inch loaf pan greased and ready to go. I'm actually just gonna roll this out with my hands. I'm not gonna re-knead it because I don't have to. I want it to be about, I would say, about yay big. I'll leave all the instructions for sizes and everything down below. You kind of want to just make sure that the length is going to fit really nicely in your pan. So I would say about 16 by 10, something like that. Or 16 by 6. I'll share it with you, don't worry. Okay, and now it's really easy. All you do is you take some pumpkin butter, and look how nice and thick and gorgeous this is. And I always put some shredded apples in mine, so it's got lots and lots of flavor. Smear that nice and evenly. You want it on every single piece. And as this bakes, the flavor really infuses through the bread so nicely, so it's pretty awesome. I like to sprinkle with just a little bit more sugar, just a couple tablespoons. The pumpkin butter is already a little sweet, but you do need a little extra because, you know, it is the holidays. And then dried cranberries. Oh, these are going to give you such lovely, chewy, delicious, wonderful festive flavor. First of all, can we just look at this and how beautiful that is? Oh, I just love the holiday season. And then just roll it like that. Kind of try and tuck your ends in a little. Shake off the flour as you go because you don't want it to be gummy or anything. Oh, that's going to be so lovely. Okay. Put that seam, right? Don't worry if you make a mess. It's part of cooking. It's part of life. It's like a beautiful little nestled baby, isn't it? Like so. Push it under. Lift things up. It looks messy now, but trust me when I tell you, it is going to be so awesome. And now all you need to do is cover this up. I'm going to just brush the very top with a little vegetable oil, and then I'm going to cover it with some plastic wrap. And the reason I do that is because once it starts rising, if there is no oil, the plastic wrap will stick to the dough, and when you go ahead and remove it, then everything deflates, and then what's the purpose in that? So I'm just going to oil the top a little bit, cover it with plastic wrap, and just stick it somewhere to rise again until it's not doubled in size, but you want it to have a nice dome over the top of the baking pan, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's finally there. My bread has risen beautifully. I have my oven preheated to 350. It took about 45 minutes for it to rise to this level, so keep an eye on it. I'm just going to remove the plastic. I'm going to pop this into the oven for about 40 minutes or so, and then you want to let it cool completely, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's there. My bread was in the oven for exactly 45 minutes. I let it cool for a little bit. Once it comes out, make sure you take it out of the pan and you place it on a wire rack. That way it doesn't carry over cooking in the hot pan, and it makes it so that your bottom stays nice and crusty if you get it right out, so that the steam doesn't cause it to get all soggy. It's still really, really warm. I should absolutely let this rest a lot longer to cool completely, but what are you gonna do? If you want to, when this comes out, you can brush the top with some melted butter and keep it really nice and soft and gorgeous. I mean, look at that beauty. And it'll keep it really nice and soft and moist, but I actually quite like the crust that it develops. I think it just bakes up so beautifully. I mean, look at that. If that's not a feast for the eyes, I don't know what is. I'm just gonna get a piece. I'm just gonna get this piece. Because, you know, let me live a little. That is everything. Still warm, but so good. How nice that would be tomorrow morning when you toast it with a little bit of butter on it. Yeah, you need to make that. It's like a festive spin on a cinnamon raisin bread, but so much more amazing, if I'm honest. Go to laurainthekitchen.com to get the written recipe. Hope you enjoy spending time with me, and I will see you next time. Bye. Are you ready? Stop making me laugh. Okay, you ready? It hurts so much.